Hey all, it's Matt, your average gamer, and for this video we're going to be doing a build and highlight, a little bit of a showcase for Morgott's Cursed Sword, a really popular weapon and a weapon that gets requested a lot on my main channel. And you get this weapon from Morgott's Remembrance. It's a really fun weapon to use, I should mention that. It's not crazy OP, it's not super overpowered, but it is a very good weapon. It scales with both dexterity and arcane, dexterity for the physical damage and arcane for your bleed buildup. And now we'll use my favorite dragons in Caelid to test the build out a little bit on. Now keep in mind they're fairly slash resistant and they're decently fire resistant too, but even with that said, the Ash of War still does a good amount of damage, as you can get fire damage and some bleed buildup too. Now the Ash of War is called Cursed Blood Slice, and as far as this Ash of War goes, it's primarily fire damage, physical damage when you hit with the weapon, and you get some bleed buildup, but it's going to be nothing crazy, nowhere near Eleanor's Pole Blade or something like the Rivers of Blood even now. So don't expect to pick up Morgott's Cursed Sword and have a ridiculous amount of bleed buildup. It's just not that type of weapon. It's more a fun weapon, aesthetically pleasing for sure, especially on the Ash of War. It looks super cool, and it does do a good amount of physical damage. With the combination of fire damage on its Ash of War, the weapon itself, the charged attacks can actually do a lot of physical damage. You're going to see that here. The charged attacks are pretty good for poise damage too, because it is a curved greatsword, and the Ash of War can do a little bit of posture damage as well. This is a weapon I definitely recommend trying out too if you're looking for one of those weapons that's powerful but not ridiculously broken either. It's not an incredibly broken weapon. Now for some of the lower poise bosses like Melania and stuff, you can knock them down with the Ash of War, but overall for most bosses it's just pretty good. It's not overpowered. All footage, by the way, is on New Game Plus 7, so everything has the max HP it'll get. These dragons in Caelid are perfect for testing because they have around 10,000 HP on New Game Plus 7 and they respawn. So if you're ever looking to test builds, definitely check out these dragons in Caelid to test different builds out, and they'll give you a good idea, and they do a decent amount of damage to you as well, so they're a little bit of a challenging to fight, a little bit better than fighting mobs as far as testing builds. Next up though, we are going to show mobs. And this Ash can be incredible against mobs, and that's why I wanted to show it for this video. I don't have to show this for all builds, but in this case, especially for mobs when they're grouped up, Morgott's Cursed Sword can definitely excel, no question about it. Works well for bosses, and works even better in some cases for mobs. The poise that you get during the Ash is pretty good too. This is not an Ash of War that you're going to get knocked out of too often. Now it doesn't have the ridiculous hyper armor of something like, say, Lion's Claw, but it has pretty good hyper armor on the Ash of War with 51 poise. And this is one, no doubt too, when you're using the Ash of War, you're going to find yourself having a great time with this one. Honestly, I think I would recommend this as a fun build for pretty much anybody. If you're looking for an arcane dex build that's fun too, Eleanor's Pole Blade and Morgott's Cursed Sword are great. I would even go as far as to say that I honestly love this weapon aesthetically. I know I've said that a few times, but the aesthetics of the weapon art are so cool looking. If I had a list of the top 10 coolest looking weapon arts, this would definitely be in it. 10 out of 10 for style, probably like a 6 or 7 out of 10 for damage, especially here on New Game Plus 7 where stuff kind of falls off a little bit and everything has a lot of HP. We're going to take on a mini boss now in Morgott. Now, Morgott in the Altless Plateau, he has a decent amount of HP again on New Game Plus 7, probably around 10,000-15,000 or so, so a decent amount. We're able to get 6,000 damage pretty much immediately with use of the Ash of War, and we're able to get a bleed proc as well. So that's pretty cool, being able to get one of those right away using the Ash of War. You want to make contact with the Ash of War too. Don't just rely on the explosion, the fire part of it. Make sure you make contact with the weapon so you get a decent amount of bleed buildup on the Ash. By the way, quick mention real quick, if you're not subbed to this channel, your average variety gamer, now's the time to sub with Elden Ring's DLC coming up. If you like the shorter content, individual builds and stuff, definitely be sure to hit that sub button. Yeah, this channel's kind of just for fun. I do a lot of side stuff. I've even put a couple videos up for Helldivers 2, different stuff from my main channel, and smaller individual builds. Now for the buffing order, we are drinking our tear first, then we're casting Golden Vow. And the reason for that is because the tear is the longest duration. Second to that is Golden Vow. Flame Grant Me Strength is going to be the last thing you do because it only lasts 30 seconds. It's a really good buff for this build, increasing physical and fire damage. And then we get to use our Ash of War and Cursed Blood Slice. We have heavy charge attacks that do good poise damage and light attacks. Let's jump into equipment. For equipment, we have Morgott's Cursed Sword plus 10. We are using the Dragon Communion Seal. It scales with Arcane, so why not? Hit 51 poise. We have the white mask on. And we have the Shard of Alexander. We have Millicent's Prosthesis for some extra dexterity. Fire Scorpion Charm, Lord of Blood's Exaltation. Flame Tear, Fate Tear for buffs. And for stats on this one, we have 60 Vigor, 21 Mind, 25 Endurance, 16 Strength, 45 Dexterity, 45 Arcane, 25 Faith with the Fate Tear. And of course, we're using Golden Vow, which will give us 15% more attack and defense for around 2 minutes, and then Flame Grant Me Strength, which will increase our physical and fire damage by 20% each for a total of 30 seconds. Both very good buffs for this incredibly fun build and a strong build in Morgott's Cursed Sword. Thanks for watching this one. I appreciate everybody that tuned in for this individual build video. Definitely be sure to sub if you're not subbed yet. And if there's individual builds or anything specifically I haven't covered on my main channel or something you'd like to see, be sure to comment that below as well. Definitely comment that. I'll look into it. I have a list that I add things to. I appreciate both my communities. It's been awesome growing this second channel, doing a little bit of shorter content and whatnot. If you like that, be sure to sub. Catch you guys soon. And as always, thanks for watching.